It's been quite difficult for the players being in a bubble. I've been in a bubble since sort of February, so I've just come out in the last couple of days, so it's nice to be back into the land of the living.
This is Gautam Bhattacharya here from Gulf News. With me I've got my colleague Shyam Krishna.
Hello.
And we have got a very, very special guest at the newsroom today. I'll just do you a kind of two questions and you will know whom I'm talking about. If there is a gold standard in leg spin bowling, it's him. If there's a talk about who bowled the ball of the century, it's him. Yes, that's Shane Warne.
Thank you very much for having me.
Who's in Dubai right now as the brand ambassador and mentor of Rajasthan Royals. Shane, how's been your stay going? I mean, you've been here for about 3 weeks now, including a bubble stay. How is it?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a pretty exciting time to be here in Dubai. The IPL is such a huge event. And we're such a major part of it. The Rajasthan Royals were a very popular franchise and we're doing okay in the tournament so far. Just to let people know that the first game had over 200 million eyeballs watching the first game. Yes. So if you put that in comparison to the Super Bowl, has about 100 million. So this was the first game. So it just puts it in perspective about how big the IPL is, to have all the best players in the world being here in Dubai to play. It's been quite difficult for the players being in a bubble. I've been in a bubble since sort of February, so I've just come out in the last couple of days, so it's nice to be back into the land of the living. It's been fantastic to be here. I've always loved coming to Dubai, and I'm looking forward to the IPL. I think the Rajasthan Royals boys are ready to fire. The big boys haven't performed as well as we would hoped yet, but it's about peaking at the right time. So we're only halfway through the tournament. So this is the time where the big boys stand up now, and hopefully we can make a big push for the finals.
You said that it had been very tough for the players, and that's where I would like to ask you this question. When the IPL was starting, there was a bit of an apprehension that these players are fighting out of a downtime of 5 months, then then the bubble. So we were wondering that if there will be issues in the fitness, if there will be issues with the intensity that they're playing closed doors. But on the other hand, we saw them all charged up. I mean, we had wonderful batting performances, bowling, and some of the people had been putting their bodies on the line for the saves. So surely a lot of credit goes to the players as to how they kept themselves ready.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the sacrifices the players are making for all of us to be able to switch on our TVs and watch sport. I think for all the sports around the world, we've got to say thank you to the people that are participating and going into these bubbles and sacrificing time away from their families. Guys like Josh Buttler have been in a bubble for 5 months, and it's going to be longer. A lot of the guys could be longer. Indian and Australian players go straight from IPL on a private plane to Australia and play 3 T20s, 3 one-dayers and 4 test matches in Australia, and it finishes, I think, at the end of January. So it's a long time for those players to be in a bubble and to keep a high performance level up and the intensity up all the time. But I think they're doing a great job. Some of the matches we've seen have been unbelievable, especially from the Royals. We've had a couple of great wins from where we didn't think we thought we were gone. And then Mr. Tawadia came in, the superstar, and went whack, and away we went. The cricket's been phenomenal. I think everyone's missing the crowds. The people make the IPL, the fans make the IPL, the energy. I think the players feed off all that sort of stuff. The atmosphere at the grounds is amazing. So I think the standard of cricket has been outstanding for behind closed doors, no crowds, bubble life. It's been fantastic cricket. So I'm sure there's big games to come. We're only halfway through. Yep. We've still got a long way to go yet. So it's some more exciting games to come.
I can't help but just ask that question about Tewatia. In a team which has got the big four in the squad, if you talk about the Rajasthan Royals performance, if you take it to the man on the street, you'll say that, like doing a Tewatia, I mean, that's the kind of coinage which we have had over this 1 month.
Yeah.
So what do you make of this guy as a cricketer? He's a leg spinner, he's such a hard-hitting utility cricketer. Do you think he's going to go far?
Well, Mr. Tewatia, as we've been calling him, look, I think he's always had the skill. He's a great all-round talent. He tries so hard in the field. He's a brilliant fielder. Brings great energy with the bat. He can adapt to any conditions, situations in the match. And with the ball, with his leg spinner, we've been working with him. We've been working with him a fair bit with his leg spin, and that's coming on really well too. He's bowled some important overs. So yeah, look, he's been a superstar for us. And as you say, the big four. Once Stokes, Smith, Buttler and Sampson, if they find some consistency, and then you put in Jofra Archer, Tawatia and these guys, I mean, It's a pretty good side. It's going to. I mean, every side's got some big players, but if you're picking a World 11 team, you know, Joss Buttler would be opening the batting. Ben Stokes would be the all-rounder. Archer would be the lead fast bowler. So we've got some World 11 players. We've got some great players, and we've got a good mix of youth and experience in our side. So I think if we, you know, it's not, you don't want to win your first 4 or 5 games, although it would be nice. You want to try and find your best team, find some form at the right time, and then as this sort of stage, in the middle of the stage of the tournament, getting to the end, that's when you find your form. That's when you start to peak, and then you hit the finals running, and that's where you can do some pretty amazing things.
Are you worried about the batting now?
I think everyone's a little bit worried about it because we'd like to make some more runs from those guys. So I think, look, they're class players, you know, form's temporary, class is permanent. These guys will perform, you know, they just will. We just know they will. Maybe it's tonight against Delhi. Maybe it's the big one tonight that they all come out firing. So I think, look, it's a concern, but I'm not worried about it really, I suppose. I think if they weren't performing just before the finals, and that'd be a bit of concern, but we've got 7 games before the finals still. So I think they'll find that form that we need them to.
What do you make of the power plays? You don't see too many runs in the power plays because the best you see is something like, say, 60 is the best we had, and that too not too often. Most of the time it's around 40s. But power plays, people really fire, but we haven't seen much of that here.
Yeah, well, we got 69. We were 1 for 69 against, I think, Kings 11. There's been a couple of 50s. I think it all depends on the opposition. It all depends on the pitch. So it's not, as much as we want to see 55, 60 runs every single power play, sometimes the tactics are to not lose wickets in that power play and only be 40, 45 because their back-end bowling's not as good, or they haven't got the spinners in the middle, but they're strong up front. So there's different tactics against different teams. You don't just go out there and smash it every game. You know, you're coming up against Rabada or Bumrah. It's a little bit different because if you go too hard, you lose too many wickets in the power play. So there's no one set formula. It's all different depending on as I said, the conditions. Sharjah is somewhere different where it's so small, you want to get off to a big score. So you need that big start. Dubai and Abu Dhabi a little bit different.
Coming to, you know, the art of leg spin now, and we have to ask you this. I'm sure you have answered it 1,000 times. You know, the situation has improved in the favor of leg spinners so much that before, if you were struggling to get one quality leg spinner per team, now you've got, say, at least a couple. I mean, in your team, you've got Gopal and Rahul.
Yep.
So how did this phenomena come about? I mean, how would you explain this?
I think when T20 cricket first started, people thought that was going to be the end of spin bowling. What we've seen in the world, I think out of the top 10 T20 bowlers in the world, 9 of them are spinners. So the spinners have played such a huge role, and especially this resurgence of leg spin bowling has been fantastic in T20 cricket. Now every team wants at least 1, if not 2. Or sometimes 3. Sometimes a batsman that bowls a bit of part-time leg spin. So it's really important that I think people are looking and are more encouraging for leg spin bowlers. So that's why we're seeing more of them. And I think just in this form of the game, they can be such a lethal weapon. So it's great for a spin bowler like myself to see spinners being successful in the IPL.
Again, just on the topic of leg spin, you have leg spinners from all over. Now you have a Nepali leg spinner, you have an Afghan leg spinner, but you don't see any leg spinners from England, you don't see any leg spinner from South Africa. South African leg spinner is Pakistan born, that is Imran Tahir. But otherwise, there's nobody coming out of that. Same is the case with New Zealand. These 3 countries have failed to produce leg spinners of late. The last leg spinner from England was Ian Salisbury. After that, we haven't seen. Why do you think it?
Well, England don't usually produce leg spinners. They just don't. If you look through the history of the game, they haven't produced a lot. And that's because of the weather. It's very hard over there when it rains all the time to grip the ball as a leg spinner. That's why they have more finger spinners in England. South Africa, they've mainly been fast bowlers. They haven't had a history of leg spinners. They've had a few ages ago, but not in recent times. Tahir played for South Africa, so you can say he's Pakistan born, but he played for South Africa and has done very well for them. New Zealand's got who played for the Royals, Ish Sodhi, who's a very good leg spinner. There's a couple other good young leg spinners at New Zealand. I think all the countries have them. It's a matter of whether they're going to be able to perform on the big stage in pressure times, and I think they can. I think the leg spinning stocks around the world at the moment are fantastic, the best they've been for a long time. Rashid Khan, Yasir Shah. There's so many good leg spinners. Adam Zampa from Australia. There's lots of them. We can keep going. There's so many. We don't want one type of leg spinner. We don't want one type of off spinner. We don't want one type of left arm spinner. We want different types of spinners. And I think that's what we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah, but none of them seem to turn the ball as much as you did. Most of them are, see, if you look at Rashid Khan, he marginally turns the ball.
There's not too many leg spinners now that bowl the nice Kuldeep Yadav from India. Is one of those left arm slow sort of leg spin bowls that spin the ball a lot. And I think that mainly guys like Rashid with T20, a lot of the leg spinners are bowling faster and not just trying to spin the ball a little bit, but both ways. You have to spin the ball both ways. Can't spin the ball both ways, you're going to get whacked. So I think it's just a different type of leg spin of what we've seen. But I still think in Test cricket, we're still seeing a few leg spinners like Yadav that can bowl nice and slow, good spin both ways, and spin it a lot.
Before we wrap up, one question. I mean, this year had been a very difficult one for the entire civilization. We know. Now we know that as Shane Warne, you have done your bit for the bushfires. Your cap was auctioned for a fair bit, raised a fair bit of money. Then when the pandemic started, then your company switched over to production of hand sanitizers. That was quite significant. So do you have any plans as to like how you can help out people, reach out to people around these times like this difficult time?
A really tough year for everyone. Small businesses, families, it's been really tough. Everyone's struggled. So I think for me, I've been lucky enough in my life. I've been very grateful for the opportunities that I've had. So I've always been able to try and give back as much as I possibly can. It's not always financial. Sometimes it's time, spending time with children. I had a foundation that ran for a long time. We raised nearly $5 million. We saved lives. We made a significant difference to families. I've always tried to do my bit for charity over the years. In recent times with the bushfires, I think everybody saw the pictures in Australia about how that affected the animals, people's houses, they lost everything. So I wanted to show Australia how much it touched me. I think when we all saw those pictures, we were all touched and everyone tried to do their bit. So I gave my baggy green cap that I played with and sat next to me in the change room in every single game. And it raised over $1 million. And then they took it on a tour around Australia, which raised another, I think, $500,000. And now that lives in the Bradman Museum, which is fantastic. And then, as you said, when the pandemic started, I've got a gin company called 708 Gin. And my partners in it, one of them is a doctor, and he saw firsthand in the hospitals how hard it was and how much everybody needed and required hand sanitizers. So we turned into hand sanitizers. So we donated all that hand sanitizers for nothing to the hospitals in Western Australia to help out at the hospitals too. I'm lucky enough that I can give back. Charities, like some of the charities that have really struggled this year as well. Every single charity, they can't hold events. So it's been difficult. I bought out my own fragrance this year, which smells pretty good. And we gave all the proceeds and all the profits went to a children's charity called My Room, which is helping children beat cancer. So we're about to give a big check for that charity too. So I'd like to think that I've done my bit for a long time, and I'll continue to do my bit, whether it be financial, whether it drive to go and see some young boys or girls from Make-A-Wish, or whether it's to visit hospitals. I'll continue to do that thing like I have done for 30 years, because if we can make a child smile, it's pretty rewarding. And some of those children, what they're battling at the moment is really, really tough. So if we can help out in any way, it's nice to be able to do that.
Wonderful words to conclude with.
Thank you very much for having me. Go the Royals. Hala Bull. That's it.
Let's hope that the campaign picks up from here and the last win was a cue.
Yes, absolutely.